How's it going, everyone? My name is Daniel Vasquez, and today I'll be going over my philosophy of education and how I really plan on incorporating that into my classroom once I'm a teacher someday. So, again, just a little bit about myself. I'm currently a student at Cal State Fullerton, graduating in the fall of 2018, so I still have about a semester left. Moving on forward, I plan on going to the credential program. I'm applying for the spring of 2019 to becoming a teacher. Still planning on going for higher ed in the future as well, but in the meantime, I'm just focusing on the present right now. A big reason why I really want to go into teaching again is just to really be able to work with students. I'm a fan of student life and seeing student leadership and involvement really develop as a result of one's time in the classroom. And essentially, just really to serve all these students and serve as a great role model and really inspire them to do great things both in and out of the classroom. So again, when I think of the role of education, I just see it as such a big concept. Really, it gives students the opportunity to really grow, really both in and out of the classroom, in which they learn principles other than just from the curriculum that they're a part of. Really advancing democracy. They learn things such as, again, student collaboration, I think, is one of the biggest ones because in this case, they're actually put in situations where they have to work with students with different backgrounds, with different viewpoints, and it's just really big because it's things like these that we don't really learn from anywhere else but the classroom and education. And essentially, I just think it's a great time to grow as individuals, as leaders, and really push to advance for democracy. So again, when it comes to teachers and students, I really think that there's certain expectations that both are held to. As teachers, what I want to be in someday are they have to really be creative and adaptable. They're working with a wide range of students with different strengths and weaknesses, and they need to know that it's not just your typical, university lecture hall. PowerPoints and talking the whole time simply won't do it. So they have to be creative. They have to be adaptable, work with different students, work with different forms of learning, technology, really just to experiment with everything for a little bit. And again, it's the best way to introduce the material, and of course, being patient with all students, because once again, all students learn at their own pace. And of course, when it comes to the students, they're expected to almost meet the teachers halfway as well. Being proactive, being an active participant in classes, engaging. I know it's sometimes scary to participate. You might think, oh, what do my peers think of me and whatnot. But at the same time, too, when they're engaged in that sense, that's going to promote, in-class discussion. Other students are going to want to step up and do things like those. And of course, asking questions. Teachers love getting questions. They love answering them. That shows that the students are willing to learn, are engaged in what's going on in the classroom. So moving on, I do plan on teaching in the social sciences category. I'm really excited to do it as well. I have a high passion for history. And so here are just some of the goals that I have for my students. Of course, I want them to enjoy the material. I know that social studies and history is kind of a bland subject for most students, but this is the case where I want to show them that it can be fun. Again, there's several things that I want my students to get out of it as well. For one thing, collaborating in groups. This is group discussions. I believe that this teacher should not be speaking the whole time, that it should be a balance. So I want to get the students to work in groups, to work with others. Effective use of citation and argumentation. Now, this isn't only good just for, let's say, papers and arguments in history, but for life as well, Let's say if you take a stance in a particular issue, you need to be able to back up your reasoning why. And with this is the case, students will be learning how to use the textbook, other sources to back up their reasons, answers why in the classroom. I just think that's a really key component. Relating the content on a more personal level. Now, if students really understand the material, they should be able to prove that they can relate, let's say, this instance in the textbook to one of my personal experiences. And that not only makes it more interesting, but again, a lot more relatable. And then finally, I want my students to be able to prove that they are retaining the material really well through assessment. And of course, I'll get into these various types of assessments later on in this PowerPoint, but again, just a really key component moving forward. Adolescent students. Now, these students are really unique. They're entering a new stage in their lives. They're going through different things. And I've witnessed a lot of this through my observation hours so far. And one thing that I've actually learned through a lot of these students is that a lot of them are actually really willing and open to learn. Again, that matters though based on the teacher and how much these students are engaged. They need to be exposed to proper role models and good people of inspiration, especially in the classroom, educators as well. I still remember of all the past mentors and educators that I had, both in college, high school, and middle school, that really encouraged me to become a teacher. So my biggest thing is the personal experience that I've been through. The earlier that these bonds are established between educator and students, the more likely they're going to want to learn and show up and participate as an active student in the classroom. So moving on, many ways how adolescent students learn. For one thing, they're heavily influenced by their peers. So in my opinion, in order to win one student, my bad, you have to win over his or her friends as well. And a lot of this is through, again, good collaboration efforts. When the students are able to work in groups, take some time away from just boring lectures, that's going to push them to want to do more and keep them interested. High technology nowadays. We've seen a lot of high schools, middle schools with the heavy use of Chromebooks, Macintoshes, iPads, as I've seen in my schools now as well. That keeps the students interested in wanting to learn, establishing those personal connections. Games on the media. Even on the media, we can use historical databases to look at different types of newspapers and things were written. To take a break from the textbook, something interesting that I found in the textbook, those who can teach, is that I guess the United States is the #1 country that leads in textbooks that are catered more toward encyclopedias than content. So again, that bores some kids, and that's where we want to stray away from to keep them engaged in the material. Teaching history, there's various strategies that I plan on using. I think role playing is a really great one. Again, just acting out the content. Not only are students learning, but they're having fun with it. Usually a lot of students are laughing, and it's really easy for them to follow along. Again, cueing critical points. Let's say in lecture, when these students are following up on these things, we want to make sure that they're staying with the material and that they're focusing and engaging. Think, pair, share. Great group strategies to engage before, during, and after the lesson. Again, just coming up with possible solutions for answers in the formulas, and of course, technology. When students are able to use iPads, laptops, whatever it may be, of course, these students are going to want to learn and work with their students because it's the trend nowadays. Class assessments. Now, these are really important just to ensure that these students are following along with the material and that no one's getting left behind. That's why it's really important to focus on entry level, formative, and summative. Entry level can actually be really fun. In the KWL charts, students can find out what they know about a subject, what they want to learn, and keep going on from there. Anticipation guides can be used to predict what's going to be predicted further on in the lesson, all to activate prior knowledge. Formative assessments can be really simple as guided questions to keep the students engaged throughout the lesson, as well as exit cards. Let's say if they're presented a question at the end of the material, if they answer correctly, that means that they're on the right track. If not, that means that they need some further help. Then finally, summative, to really wrap it up all together. This is where students can be focused on unit tests, state tests, really just to determine their knowledge in that content material and really go from there to see if they actively participated. Then finally, in conclusion, a big reason why I want to go into this field is just to be an effective role model, to really work with students. I want to see them engaged. I really love to see student life and leadership development, a big reason why I'm going in. And I do know that a teacher has to be creative, adaptable, and really be able to work with any type of student that's presented their way. And that's what makes the job interesting. This is why I'm interested. So again, I want to thank you all for listening to my presentation today, and I look forward to listening to all of yours as well. Thank you.